Were you in on this from the start?
Hey, Claudia. I got a very special gift for you from Liliana.
Now, one thing you can guarantee when it comes to Tommy is, he doesn't forget those who have done him wrong, betrayed him, or snitched, and there are a few that fell into that category in Season 2 of Force, but none more so than Claudia Flynn. Towards the end of Season 1, we saw a shift in the relationship between Claudia and Tommy. They started working on Dahlia behind Walter Flynn's back, but his manipulation and frankly some twisted storytelling, which didn't make too much sense, meant Claudia switched. She turned on Tommy, and at the end of episode 10, we lost someone who grew to be a fan favorite, Liliana. Claudia was the one who pulled the trigger, but with bullets flying everywhere and Tommy in a battle with Vic, you couldn't be 100% sure who pulled the trigger. Now, Liliana meant the world to Tommy, which was a stark contrast to what we saw in New York and when they reunited in Chicago.
The girl who got cut, you want clip.
I don't see another way. The truth. They're replaceable. Just like you wanted it. She's replaceable.
Ever so slowly, she then began to grow on Tommy. She took Tommy back to school, refused to give him up to Markovich and the Serbian network. She was kidnapped, burned, had busted her bones, refused money to turn on him, and also took a bullet in the process. Liliana was just like him, because she didn't know any better. She was all about the street life, and you knew Tommy began to care for her the moment he began to open up about his family and his past. This is why Liliana's death hurt. She had a huge impact on Tommy's journey, from someone who he wanted to ice in Season 1 of Power, to someone who stayed loyal till the very end of her time. Now, having said that, Tommy was always going to catch up to Claudia for what she did to Liliana, but one of the main questions is she truly dead or is she alive? Now, this is what Gary Lennon had to say post-season 3 about the Claudia scene at the end. With Claudia, we definitely shot it the way we did so people would be like, will she survive? What I'll say is, if we get a season 3, we will reveal who survives and who doesn't in 301. I can't get into it because it would be a huge spoiler, but I do love working with both women, and our writers' room have a very strong design of what season 3 will look like. So that's directly from Gary Lennon, who is a new showrunner of Force, and based on what we've seen on screen, based on what Gary Lennon has teased, and based on what we've seen in the past in the Power universe, we really can't be 100% sure that she is dead. So let's take it back to why I think she could be alive.
What if we helped the idea that Lobos is dead?
Helped?
We freeze his assets. We start seizing his American properties. We spread the word through the prison system that the Jimenez killed the defendant. And we mount a John Doe prosecution.
Now, this is something I briefly touched on in my breakdown, but something which I do think is worth a deeper look at, and it is Felipe Lobos. There are other examples like Kanan, who I will touch on briefly later on. There's Lauren, Tatiana, and a few others, but the one that relates to Claudia the most, I think, is Felipe Lobos. In Power, Ghost wanted out of the game, but to be out of the game, he had to take care of all those on the chessboard that could associate him as Ghost. He took care of Vladimir, Drifty, he sent Ruiz away, and also put out a hit on Felipe Lobos while he was in jail, and so in his mind, he thought Lobos was finally gone for good. But not only did he survive, he continued to make business moves on the outside, and very few knew about his status. Now, why I feel it's important to look at the situation with Lobos is because Claudia's situation could be very similar. She's supposedly being killed while in jail, but the writers have purposely left this open-ended because of exactly this. What we're doing right now, having this discussion about whether Claudia is dead or alive. On social media, it's what everybody's talking about. It's mostly about Claudia. Some believe she's dead and some believe she's alive. So let's break this down even further. Now, in the world of Power, what I would say is, even though innocent lives are caught in the crossfire, more or less you do have to earn your death. And so I do think the first question we have to ask is, has Claudia Flynn earned her death? I think we can make a good case to say she has. She betrayed Tommy, she killed Liliana, she flipped on her father, and also tried to have Vic killed in the raid at the Flynn mansion. But that's not all. She continued to manipulate and lie even though she was caught. So do I think she deserves her death? Of course she does. But look, this is Power, and I always say unexpect the unexpected, which is what I kept saying before episode 10. I wouldn't be surprised if we were in for a twist. But for someone like Claudia, death is way too easy.
Death is too easy. She's gotta suffer.
Vic wanted her to suffer because I agree. Sometimes death is too easy for some characters. What would hurt Claudia more is if she went to prison and rotted there for the rest of her life. If you think about who Claudia is as a character, she thrives on power and control. All she's ever wanted was a father's seat at the table. But if you were to take that away from her, who is Claudia? She's nothing. Now put her in a position where she's governed by different rules, where every bit of her influence, power and control is taken away from her. Just imagine how crazy that would drive someone like Claudia Flynn. Now that's making someone suffer. So I really wouldn't mind if season 3 did start with her being alive. I want to see how she deals with being behind four walls and her believing that's where her life will end. However, we do have to go on the other evidence, facts and findings, and another theme that we have seen across the Power universe, where characters can weasel their way out of prison time, whether it be on a technicality like 2-Bit or Lorenzo, suppressed evidence like Kanan Stark, or snitching like Teresi. If it does serve the purpose of the storyline, then Power will find a way.
Whatever it takes to get me out of the RICO. Half of law enforcement's already on my family's payroll.
Yeah, not this half.
Claudia began saying the moment she was arrested, she was ready to rat out everybody around her to try and save herself. And it was actually quite funny because this is what we spoke about before. Put her in handcuffs governed by different rules and watch her change her tune. Now having said that, a phrase that I do think sums up what we saw next is what comes around goes around. Claudia tried to backstab her brother early in season 2, but ironically it was her who was getting a backstab at the end of episode 10. Shanti, who's also another snake, gave up the location that helped her get arrested, along with the Serbs and the Marquez cartel. She then had one of her girls in jail take her out.
I got a very special gift for you from Liliana.
So circling back around to the beginning of this video, this was for Liliana, and one thing we can be sure of is that Tommy Egan never forgets. Sometimes he may forgive, which is very rare, but he will never forget, and Claudia was always going to get what was coming to her. So I do think she deserves to die based on what we've been through, but funnier things have happened in Power. Now something we have to discuss is what moves could Claudia make if she is alive. Now this goes back to another Power example, Kanan Stark. Ghost thought he'd kill Kanan at the end of season 2, but little did he know he survived. He nursed himself back to full health with the help of Jukebox, and then we saw him navigate the streets as Slim. He terrorized Ray and started to manipulate Ghost's son Tariq St. Patrick, and that's what you can do when your enemies think you're dead. You can start plotting your moves in the shadows and then strike when they least expect it. In Kanan Stark's example, he played the perfect plan. He was set to deliver Ghost's entire network to Felipe Lobos, and had it not been for Ghost having him and Tommy arrested at the hotel, he may have even succeeded. Now, albeit this example is a little different, Claudia is in jail and Kanan Stark was a free man by being able to navigate the streets, but the same principles do apply. If Tommy and her enemies do believe she is dead, then what better way to make your next move? This is why Claudia Flynn could be very dangerous come next season. If her enemies do believe she's dead, and she's making moves in the shadows, then Claudia Flynn is going to be very dangerous come season 3. We do also have to assume Stacey Marks will be on the hunt for Tommy once again. And could she use Claudia? She started singing like a bird when Bobby DeFranco put the handcuffs on her. So if Stacey Marks does get her in a room like she did with Vic in season 2, I wouldn't be surprised if it's her turn to have a noose tied around her neck. Now we do also have to consider the fact she could very well be dead. Claudia is a character who I do feel deserved her death. And we also have to ask the question, what's next? If she is alive, then how do they integrate her back into the storyline along with Vic? I think come 301, based on Gary Lennon's comments, we will find out who's biting the dust. One of Claudia and Vic are goners. I don't see the writers just completely wiping out the Flynns within 6 episodes, but I can see either one of Claudia or Vic being confirmed dead in 301. So let's see who. Now that's a breakdown of the situation involving Claudia Flynn and how we're gonna have to wait to find out whether she's dead or alive. But now the floor is open for you guys. I've presented 2 perspectives based on the evidence, facts and findings. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section, because I do know this will split a few opinions. Drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section, and as always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.